People will train in one particular martial art and then make a decision without knowing anything about other people's training that they're incorrect. And then they'll use something like the UFC as the model example. Well, if it doesn't work in the UFC, then it's not reality. What I've always told my fighters is when you're learning how to fight in sport martial arts, it's important to keep in mind that when you're getting into the cage, you're not locked in the cage. All that guy's friends are locked out of the cage. That would change everything pretty dramatically. I can handle fighting a guy I can handle fighting, but I cannot handle fighting a guy I can't handle fighting and all of his friends. So I think there's an arrogance that people have, and it tends to float through a lot of topics, history as well. Today we're obviously smarter and better and more capable than people were in history, and I think that's the attitude that people carry. Yeah, I don't think it is. I think if you took 99.9% or even more of the world and put them in an empty field and said, all right, you're going to have to survive and recreate everything on your own, go ahead and make a pocket knife from dirt. You have to mine it. How long does that take? It's a combined effort and a lot of luck and a lot of knowledge and a lot of intention that is developed through millennia of human beings. And then you get a 25-year-old here that knows absolutely fucking everything, and it's mind-boggling to me. One of the things that came across here in Denver was a leader in the sport martial arts community made 2 posts that were absolutely damning to my business as far as people that would listen to him. One was, Sambo is not a real sport. So Sambo and Combat Sambo, they're not real because they don't do as well at BJJ as BJJ does at BJJ. And I'd like to point out that BJJ does historically horrible at Taekwondo as well. We can make these comparisons across the board on how bad basketball players are at badminton. These are just nonsense comparisons made by people that have a hard time seeing what reality really is, and it's a novel. It's not a short story. The other thing that was said was that knife training is unrealistic and group attack training was unrealistic. I'm like, all right, so you're suggesting to people to be ill-prepared and not have any kind of plan and try to think it up in the middle of a panic trying to defend their family. That's your advice. That's your fucking advice, is to jump guard, maybe lay on the ground, get into my triangle. Absolutely crazy. I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I'm a brown belt currently under Fredson Pascal. And nothing but respect for what jiu-jitsu and the Gracie family have done for the martial arts. Amazing things. But that doesn't stop people from having goofball opinions. And a goofball opinion is when you step into a world that you're unaware of, like saying that all the military should be doing jiu-jitsu, maybe the military would be better off doing judo. It is a good idea to not be laying on your back underneath somebody in a field. I understand that if the situation's there, you need that jiu-jitsu edge to get out, but it shouldn't be your primary get into situation. So military operations, for example, they have a different expectation of what they're going to face to survival is not the same thing you're experiencing at a bar where somebody's going to come break it up in 15 seconds. So train the martial arts in such a way that makes sense for your life. Don't train it in such a way that makes sense for somebody else's religious opinion. And the martial arts are a religion. They've been a religion since I've been in them as a young guy. There's always somebody is going to make you better if you just quit doing what you do and start doing what they do. Man, you're just going to be amazing if you just do that. And the reality of it is, grappling works, striking works, training works, knife training works, It's better to have an idea what to do if somebody pulls a knife on you than to have no clue and call that your training and then declare its superiority over everything else. People even that bag on doing gun removals, well, yeah, it is a peculiar thing to focus on full time. But if something like that were to happen, an idea is better than no idea. So my suggestion is learn how to use knives, learn how to defend knives, learn how to use firearms, learn how to defend firearms, learn how to use your body, learn how to defend your body. Play smart. Don't just play politics. Don't play martial religion. See what you guys can come up with. You might come up with a system that works really well for you and your lifestyle. Hope you guys carry on. Do well. I'm pulling up to the gym now. Starting out 2025. Got these terror attacks that hit. Didn't think much of them in the beginning. Britain was hit. Germany was hit. Haven't heard the news on that much. America got hit twice. Bunch of people ran over in New Orleans. And but the FBI says it's cool. It's not a terror attack. The ISIS flag, it's nothing. Want everybody to know, my opinion anyways, these groups are no threat to the American government at all. They'll protect themselves at any cost. They will throw as many of us at the problem to protect themselves as they need. So don't worry about the American government. They'll be okay. Now, however, Americans are soft targets. So 10 people lost their lives, and that seems to get blown off pretty quick. But the reality of it is, that's pretty impactful, that 10 people lost their lives. And 10 families are now mourning this nonsense. Woman recently lit on fire in New York City. And then I'm watching, nobody had a clue on what to do for her. One guy went up and cared. He had no medical training at all and no fire training, and fanned her and made the flames maybe a little hotter. But outside of that, nobody did anything. Nobody tackled her to put her out. The guy that lit her on fire sat and watched it, and nobody did anything to him. And now they're wondering what should be done with him. Well, I don't know. I don't know what should be done. Biblically, I have an idea. Eye for an eye. And I saw this years ago. It was some white supremacist guy. I don't like bringing that up. It's such a minority happening, at least in the world that I live. I know a lot of white people, and I don't know any of them that think supremacy thoughts. And I live in very white communities, and I have never heard anything negative from come out of my family when they didn't know I was listening, to people that are around, to friends. I just haven't heard it. So not my whole life. So this offshoot white supremacist guy down south threw lighter fluid on a black girl at a drinking fountain somewhere and lit her on fire. And people are like, "What should we do with them?" And it's an eye for an eye. It's easy peasy. You light somebody on fire, up you go. And that's and I wouldn't take joy in doing that. And I wish the world didn't need that type of justice. I wish people could just let each other live. I don't understand all this conflict. I don't understand government conflict. I don't understand the current model of needing to have freedom of protection, or freedom of, that was a good way to put it, freedom of hearing speech. People wanting protection from being offended, or protection from having to hear something they maybe don't like. This is all pretty, it's not new to me. It's new to me in the sense of how it's actually starting to take traction and work its way into organizations, public and private. Back when I was a kid, conservatives acted like liberals act today, and they wanted everything censored, rock and roll. Bon Jovi talking about whatever that girl's name is, love is like bad medicine, is apparently Satanist back in the old days, and churches are losing their collective minds over this. And today, people get confused about really, really basic stuff, and if you don't agree with the confusion, well, then you got to be silent. So the world's kind of weird. It's kind of weird between the extremes of what's going on out in the world, and people looking for reasons to get upset. It was just the other day, I got an email from a group called Move On. It's a super left-wing group, and they listed about 20 or 30 things that you could vote on and check off and see which one that we should be upset about next, and then we can collectively get angry. And I think that's an economy of its own. I think the outrage economy is a pretty substantial economy, something like the environmental economy and the homeless economy. These are big money economies, and that's what makes money go around. And there's only one winner when money goes around, and that's the one that'll protect itself against these organizations around the world. So don't worry about it. That government will be okay. You, however, might have to take some action for yourself. I'd love to train people. If any of you that know me, that happen to be watching this deep into this, I train people to get in shape and to be able to defend themselves, be able to do sport martial arts competitions for personal development and success in life. And I'm hustling work here. I'm trying to sell work, and people, they don't like to buy work. I got a bar next to me that here in a moment, 4 or 5 cars are going to pull up to, and people are going to begin their daily intake of alcohol. And they're going to sit at that bar and talk about themselves. And I've listened to them. I haven't gone into that one, but I went into the one upstairs from here and listened. I went up there for lunch and listened to this guy talk about how badass he was at fighting. And I'd be surprised if he could safely jog to his truck without there being an issue. And he would just grab people by the throat and just rah, rah, rah. And the only way you could really feel comfortable speaking like that is if you're grabbing like true victim people by the throat, or if you have never been tested. Like, you can't even, if you're a man or a woman, you can't grab an equal man or a woman by the throat and squeeze on them. They won't let you. It's not a possible thing. So that mentality that they already are enough around the conversation of strength, around the conversation of ability to be able to fight, around the conversation of mental awareness of what goes into combat. I mean, a combat is if you've never been in a fight, it's one thing to play with your friends and you're both laughing and then conclude that you can fight at the end of that. It's a very different thing to see a crazy look on somebody's face when they've checked out of any kind of moral standards, and you can see it in their eyes. They're just gone, and they're swinging as hard as they can, whether they hurt you or them. Somebody's getting hurt. And then it's worse when somebody has a knife, and it's worse when you're being jumped, and it's worse when you're in a strange area being jumped, and it's worse when you see them, they're holding a gun. Like, there's these elevations of worse. And these people in the bars are 100% sure they've got it figured out. We had one guy walk over here recently because we asked him not to park directly in front of our place for the duration that we were open, so our students would have someplace to park. And he did it anyways, pulled right through the people asking him that, and it created window glare. And so we put soft foam over the top of his window, just to stop the glare. And the guy came in wanting to fight. Let me clarify that. A 60-year-old man walked into a fight gym filled with fighters wanting to fight us. And the biggest thing that I can define when I tell people the difference between a fighter and a non-fighter, because like a fighter can be paralyzed. Muhammad Ali, when he's out of his prime, still a fighter, so he would have the same knowledge that I'm about to say here. Whether you're capable or not anymore as a fighter, you know what hurts you. As where people that were non-fighters and did no preparation and chose the route of absolute physical ignorance for themselves as a lifestyle are not entirely aware of what hurts them. And so they become reactive, overreactive, or underreactive to it. For example, a dog is a courageous animal. So I don't know that courage is something that we should aspire to, just blind courage, because even a dog has that. A dog will jump out of the back of a truck on a freeway to attack anything it sees that needs to be attacked and kill itself in the process. And then panic, like if it doesn't die, it just like start running with what it has left in its body and just panic like crazy, like, oh, my health is in danger. I was getting ready to tear this other thing apart and then I hurt myself. I need great empathy. And when people start matching the characteristics of dogs, it's gross to me. But I see the guys over here with absolute great courage that they can do amazing things. But the reality is they'd be hard-pressed to do a couple pull-ups. And certainly if they did 30 seconds of jump rope, couple pull-ups, and then were asked to do a couple cartwheels, that would be kind of the end of it. So living your lifestyle in such a way that you can create a reaction that you want if something were to require an extreme action. I'm telling you, skills are perishable. If you could do something 10, 15 years ago and you tried it again today, it's probably not going to be what you expect. And I think I see that a little more than most people because I ride motorcycles. And what I could do at one time, and if I were to try that now, the consequence could be the end of my life. So there has to be training to great skill. It's not forever. It is a perishable. Our skills are perishable. And if you have gone the route to have no skill, and that's the route you've decided is that no skill, then be prepared for that reaction. Be prepared for the look in your wife's eyes if something hits the fan. And this is an actual thing. In one of my businesses, a guy comes in, he's talking to me, he finds out I own the gym, and he's talking about a self-defense situation where the two neighbors came over and they were boxers and got in an altercation with his wife where they proceeded to start beating her, according to him. And they were beating her up and sitting on her chest and punching her in the face. And he ran in the house and got his cell phone and recorded the whole thing. And he really felt like he did the right thing. But I saw the way she looked at him. And he made me pretty sick to look at myself. And I would never want to do that. And this is where that thing I just talked about, the bar, all the guys that don't try, oh, I would, what would you do? No, really, what would you do? Two trained boxers started beating up your wife. You would do what? You get a gun? Well, that'll work. You get a knife? Might work. You go in the house and load and just let them have another 45 seconds to 2 minutes beating on her before you get the gun, or you pack in all the time. You just terrified of fucking life and you have to have a gun on you all the time because you're just scared, just absolutely terrified, ready for what almost never happens. But you carry these with you all the time. You have no idea how to use them. What are you going to do? You don't even have to commit your whole life to train. You just have to commit a little bit of time. But getting people to do that, man, I am peddling work. People hate it. I can see it when I go over to Vasa. My goodness. They can certainly fight over there. You could tell, because the guys, they try to bowl up on you, like, look at me. And like, yeah, you can bench about 20 pounds more, and that'll do it. You have my hands above my head, being held with one hand. I'll be going, no. I don't know what they imagine entirely, that a person smaller, therefore they have won and they have dominated, and then they sit in the steam room and flex and try to intimidate. It's a peculiar culture. Muscle does not equate to fighting capability unless neither person is educated on how to fight, and then it tends to be the one with more aggression, and then the second thing behind that is strength. Being that cardiovascular capabilities are equal, there's a lot of moving targets and parts in here. There's length of arms and you're a long ways away. There's length of arms and you're really close and tight. There's the ability to create a tremendous amount of force. People born with hard bones. There's a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of things that come into it that just aren't said by martial artists or by non-martial artists both. But non-martial artists are ones that are like, no, I got it. And I hear little Oompa looking guys in front of the boys, I've got this. I'm like, there is no evidence that you have this, for sure. And it's really hard to explain to them that they don't got it. And I learned a long time ago that just grabbing them, wrestling through the ground, and spanking them in front of their wife against their will also doesn't make them come in. So it's hard to know what makes them come in. And I can just hope that people make the change, or maybe I need to care less and really just focus on the people that do want to make the change. But hustling health is hard. Maybe I should have opened businesses with encouraging protracted shortening of life. I can't use the S word because that's censored these days for some reason. You have to just deal with it when it happens to people around you. You don't want to have any open conversations about it. But protracted shortening of life. Drink 6 beers a night. Call it normal. Play a shit ton of video games. Hang out at pool halls. Eat bar food. Do absolutely nothing for your health and fitness. And then that's a good way to make money on people, because they're willing to pay a lot. I'm going to summarize this up by concluding into the training pool. What I find to be interesting about society, at least in the Western world, is people are willing to pay $600-800 a month for health insurance they may or may not use. And almost all uses of health insurance and medical is lifestyle issues. You're not exercising, you're eating poorly, you're drinking too much, you're taking too many drugs. I heard some drughead dude upstairs loudly talking about how this other person takes too many drugs and he takes just the right amount of drugs. I don't know what that is. So people have put huge swaths of time into creating money to pay to an organization to cover part of their health issues that are self-fulfilling prophecies from the behaviors, but want a gym membership for $15 or less. They're willing, the priority of putting energy into themselves is baffling to me. I cannot wrap my head around it at all. And that's all I have to say. Well, I'm going to just do my self-meditation and focus, so when I talk to people that don't train and they tell me how capable they are, I can agree with them and not just give them a wedgie or something while they're trying to explain it to me. All right. Have a good day, guys. I feel better.